Welcome back to the Movie Draft House. I'm your host, Mark, joined by Sleepy Jeff.
Yeah, it's me. Yeah, I overslept a little bit, but when you oversleep, you get a nice radio voice.
That's true. You
Like
haven't.
when you first wake up.
Yeah, you get a little sultry.
Little husk.
Yeah.
It's deep and rich. And here on 98.5, the bucket.
98.5, the bucket.
98.5, the bucket. What a dumb name.
What a random ass item to choose. Anyways, Jeff, tell him what the theme is this year. And
let me get my drink of water 1 second.
Oh God, I'll tell him what the theme is. All right, this year we are reviewing films that have some connection.
Well, I need the water for the rundown.
Right. But you drink your water. I'll tell him what the theme is, and then you run it down. We're reviewing films that have some connection, whether it be an actor, an actress, writer, director, to some way, shape, or form, a connection to the previous week's film. Jeff?
Yeah. Would you like an example?
Yes, please.
Well, you've tuned into The Bucket, and I'm going to tell you all about it. So, last year we finished off the year watching... my brain is so slow. I overslept this morning. This could be most of the episode, so feel free to skip ahead. We watched fucking hell.
You want me to do it? I can do it.
Yeah, you do it this time.
All right. So we ended 2024 watching A Simple Favor, which starred Anna Kendrick. Anna Kendrick was also in Life After Beth. That's what we started this year out with, which also starred Paul Reiser, who was in Whiplash, which also starred Miles Teller, who was also in Top Gun Maverick, which was written by Peter Craig, who also wrote the film Gladiator II, which starred Pedro Pascal as the penis collector.
Yeah, you remembered.
Driveway Dolls? Yeah.
Drive Away Dolls.
Away Dolls. I'm sorry. This is my first time doing this.
Yeah.
Driveway Dolls, which also starred Margaret Qualley, who was in the film The Substance, which starred Demi Moore, who was also in the film Indecent Proposal, which starred Billy Bob Thornton. Who was also in the film Armageddon, which starred both Steve Buscemi and Peter Stormare, who were both in Fargo, which also starred Frances McDormand, who was in the film 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which starred Sam Rockwell, who was also in the film 7 Psychopaths, which starred Colin Farrell, who was also in the film Saving Mr. Banks, which starred Tom Hanks, who was also in the film Dragnet.
Yes, he was.
Which starred Christopher Plummer, who was also in the bank heist film. Oh God, Inside Man, which starred which starred Denzel Washington, who was in the excellent film Training Day, which also starred who's the fucking what's his name?
I don't even remember. What did we watch between Training Day?
Oh, no. Okay. Training Day was written by David Ayers.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Who directed this week's film, Fury. Came out in 2014. It's rated R and runs for 2 hours and 14 minutes and stars Brad Pitt, Shia LaBeouf, Logan Lerman, and who are the Michael Pena, Jon Bernthal. So it's got a pretty stacked cast.
Jason Isaacs is in there.
Jason Isaac is a supporting character here, and so it is a film about a tank squadron. I don't even know like the name of the people inside of a tank. But all these dudes operate a tank, one single tank, and they're all inside said tank. And they're
Tank Squad.
Tank Squad, right?
That's what they should have called this movie, Tank Squad.
But the tank's name, and it's written on the cannon barrel for the tank, is Fury.
Yes.
And Brad Pitt plays the commander of this squad. And essentially, this film is they're like the last remaining tank in France, maybe.
Yeah, they're in France.
Yeah,
I think I watched some. I just recently watched *Inglourious Basterds*, so everything's blurring together. But yeah, I believe they're in France.
Yeah. *Inglourious Basterds* also starring Brad Pitt.
It's true.
But
Arrivederci.
That's a very good film as well. But so they're making their way across the countryside of France. Maybe on their way back to. They meet up with. They're on their way back. It starts and they're like the lone tank left going through, and they're making their way through like tank graveyard or whatever.
Yeah, like all these tanks got obliterated, but theirs just broke down, I guess, and their gunner got turned into mush.
Yeah. And so before we get really dive into this, you've never seen it, correct?
I don't even know that I knew this existed.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Just a blip. What year did it come out?
2014.
2014? No, I would have. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably just because I was like, war movie. Moving on.
Yeah. I mean, you're well established here on the pod that you're not a big fan of war films.
Correct.
So, but and I am a fan of war films. I do love a good war movie. Some of them are better than others, but for the most
Do you have
part,
a favorite?
Ooh, I would say like like we say war film that could be any war, right? It doesn't have to be World War II or anything.
Oh yeah, any war.
Yeah.
But
it's probably Braveheart. And
wow.
and then
Okay.
and then
I guess I'm thinking more of like a modern guns and ammo.
I mean, if we're talking kind of modern war films,
last 100 years or so,
nothing from the 1400s.
No, I mean guns. I'm thinking guns and
let me.
I think maybe Civil War or after.
Okay. Let me see. What? I'm trying to think of all the.
There's We Were Soldiers.
Probably Tears of the Sun.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen that.
It's a film starring Bruce Willis, and he plays a lieutenant or commander for a squad that's meant to rescue some American civilians from the jungles of Somalia, I think.
Yeah.
And I mean, just really good. You
want to know my favorite war movie?
It's Black Hawk Down.
I've never seen it.
Oh God.
Because it's a war movie. It's actually Steven Spielberg's War Horse.
Yeah, I remember listening to your episode on that with.
That movie's great. Although, no, there's guns in that. That's World War I. So yeah, that qualifies.
And it's a more recent film, so
yeah.
That's a good one. But my second one's probably Black Hawk Down. There's a couple others, but in general, I'm a fan of war films. And so I had seen Fury before, but I saw it when it first came out, and I hadn't seen it since. And I remember liking it. I remember, it being this ensemble cast, and the ensemble here is really good.
Yes.
Logan Lerman, it's Logan Lerman's film. Like he is kind of the main character, but Brad Pitt is
he's the eyes of the audience.
Yeah, correct.
I think is the best way to put it.
Sure. Yeah, we're all with we're seeing everything through his lens, really.
Yeah.
And Brad Pitt is this grizzled World War II vet, maybe World War I as well. because he mentions that he's been chasing the Germans since Africa, and
Yeah.
and that was a very World War I reference, and so so he's the commander here. In Logan Lerman is a very new to the battlefield, young, inexperienced. He says they ask him, "Hey, when did you join the army?" And he was like 2 weeks ago, and he was thrown into the battlefield, and he's the replacement for the gunner that was turned to mush that we referenced at the beginning.
Yeah, he had to clean his mush out, out of the vehicle.
This and saying that this film is very very graphic, like
Yeah,
any war film is.
Like you're Saving Private Ryan sort of
Yes,
realistic war.
There is a scene where a guy on top of a tank gets shot with a tank round in his face, and and his head just disappears. But
there's a lot of those sudden heads just popping.
Yes,
things that come up,
and and so the ensemble here is really good. Shia LaBeouf, probably my favorite character in the film.
I think he's the best actor in the film.
Yeah, like, I do too.
Performance, I should say. Like, and you've been a Shia LaBeouf fan for a long time, and I've not really been, but this is the first movie, and I love Peanut Butter Falcon.
Yeah,
but this is the movie where I was like, oh shit, I see it, because he really is really good.
Yeah,
as Boyd Bible Swan in this, excellent stuff.
Yeah, he is the guy that pulls the trigger for the tank cannon. And a lot of this movie, and like, so David Ayers, I mean, he's kind of an enigma in my opinion as a director, is because like this film is really good, but like if you look across his filmography, it's a bunch of shit. And
he's mostly known as a writer. Like if you're looking across his writing credits, it's a different situation.
Yeah, it's just when you talk about, hey, this film and this film being really good as a war film and as an action film. It is, I mean, it is an action film, but it's grounded in story. It's because you spend so much time inside of a tank with these characters. And so you actually get a chance to, and then there's down moments. There's very quiet moments that give certain characters an opportunity to really breathe on their own. Logan Lerman and Brad Pitt being the two, but like David, I mean, like the direction, the cinematography in this film was excellent. As a war film, and you see war films and the cinematography sometimes it's easy to kind of just like, hey, big sweeping shots of a battlefield, or just scenes of planes flying, or tanks on the battlefield. Mm-hmm. But what David Ayers does in certain moments is he has head down shots from above tanks, and he's showing you the magnitude of the battlefield from like the 30,000 foot view. And there's different shots in the film, throughout the film, like that, to where you're traveling with the tank, but you're seeing it from above. And you see like this tank is just kind of navigating around war-torn equipment and dead bodies, and it's a unique perspective from a movie about a tank. And I really thought that the cinematography here was really good. It's because I've never really thought of David Ayers as an auteur of film, where he's showcasing his ability to tell story from how the film is shot. And so it was unique in that aspect, is because you think of David Ayers and you think of maybe like Suicide Squad, or I don't even know what the fuck else movies he's got, but he did a Will Smith Netflix movie called Bright that was not any good. And
gonna,
and so you just think, oh, End of Watch, which was very similar, very grounded film, starring Jake Gyllenhaal as a LAPD cop, but very gritty. And then this film is very
like Jake Gyllenhaal.
I do like Jake Gyllenhaal. So there's different things here that like kind of round this film out as a good film, not just from the performances or the set or the costumes or anything like that, is because that's all very good. It's just the cinematography adds such an elaborate layer of film storytelling, I guess. And so Brad Pitt here is kind of he's not a bad guy. Oh, he might be a bad guy, but he's not the bad guy. And but you can tell that he's just been in war probably too long, and
it's all he knows.
Right. And so all of his decision making is, hey, we gotta mow through these Germans. They capture one, and he forces Logan Lerman to shoot him, and by holding Logan Lerman's hand on the gun and maybe even force him to pull the trigger.
Yeah, it's not the same. Logan Lerman was innocent at that point.
Yeah. Right.
Still,
Logan Lerman does not want to do it. He tells him he doesn't want to do it, and Brad Pitt kind of gets him in a chokehold and makes him do it. And so from that point on in the film, you kind of view Brad Pitt in a different lens. Before that, Brad Pitt was just kind of maybe this macho badass. And then from that point on, he becomes kind of this tainted character. And all the other dudes in the tank, they've been with him for a long time. They trust him. They look to him, in time of need and danger, and to lead them through everything. And so, and he knows that, and he's got the buy-in from his tank squad.
Tank Squad. That's what they should have called the movie.
And everybody but except Logan Lerman. And throughout the film, Logan Lerman does not want to engage in this warfare. He doesn't want to pull the trigger of a gun. Even when he's inside the tank and he's operating maybe the 50 caliber machine gun or whatever.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to do it. And so, like, what did you think of everything up to this point and while you're watching it?
So, I'm really enjoying it. I do, how do I put this? I don't know. I think like the strongest thing about this movie is the characters and the group of 5 that are in the tank and their camaraderie, and just kind of how Logan Lerman kind of assimilates. He gets on the same page with these guys. But I think the characters in the tank are the best part. Like I said, I think Shia LaBeouf smashes it. I really like Jon Bernthal in this movie because he's playing a really different character than you normally see out of him. Like normally and I haven't seen too many of his films, but I feel like he's a little more stoic usually, and this guy's kind of insane.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I think the acting of our main 5 here is really good. So I'm on board at this point in the film. There is a point where I get off board.
Okay.
Which we can get to if you want to just kind of take things chronologically, as one does. But I just up until this point, I'm enjoying the film, and the characters. I really like watching them operate the tank.
Yes.
I don't. What does Shia LaBeouf shout every time he fires? He's like, "It's good." I started enjoying that. Like it did a good job of considering the fact that most of the action takes place from the tank.
Yeah.
Of showing what that action looks like from the inside of the tank. And I think that the movie did a great job of illustrating what it takes to operate the tank. You're like,
Yeah.
what the hell is Jon Bernthal doing? Well, he's
Right.
loading
Yeah,
those giant rounds.
right.
And the camaraderie is great. I like watching Brad Pitt is a good strategist. Like he knows how to, hey, move this way, get around. Let's,
Yeah.
I don't know the terms or whatever, flank or some shit. And so all of that, I'm on board with. I'm good.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think I don't recall having a film kind of tell a story in this manner, and where a war film from the perspective of one piece of equipment that takes 5 people to operate it, and being able to tell a cohesive story that also has like emotional weight to it. I Logan Lerman, I'm a fan of Logan Lerman. I don't know why he kind of dropped off the face of Hollywood.
I don't know that I've ever seen him in anything.
Yeah, he was in The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Didn't see it.
He was Percy Jackson.
Didn't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, just kind of a likable young actor when he first started, and I think he's a good actor.
Yeah.
But I don't know why he just like, after like the mid 2000s, he just kind of maybe fell off, and I haven't seen him since. But he's very good in this role, is because he conveys the inexperience and the young, the young way of thinking, and just this kind of like, hey, shell-shocked human. And I think the best scene in the film is when Brad Pitt and him go into the house or the apartment or whatever, in the one village, and they encounter the 2 females, and they don't. I think they speak French, or I think that's what it is.
We're gonna go with that though.
And these 2 females are scared out of their. They're scared out of their minds. And then there's obviously this language barrier.
Well, he speaks it, doesn't he? Brad Pitt.
Oh, Brad Pitt. Yes, he does. And but they're obviously saying I believe they're sisters. And
cousins. She says cousins.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
And Logan, like Brad Pitt, like there's it's implied that, and we've, I believe everybody's aware that kind of the thing with war is that, an invading force goes in and claims property and people as theirs, and there's probably rape that goes on and all that. And so I thought the film does a really good job of having heavy tension in these moments, to where you're like, oh, is Brad Pitt gonna like rape one of these women?
Yeah.
And Logan Lerman is very much like, I don't want this. I don't want any part of this. And they have some downtime, and Logan Lerman starts playing the piano, and one of the females,
Emma,
recognizes the song and goes and starts singing to the song he's playing. And
my anaconda don't want none unless you got buns, hon. That was the song.
Yeah. Who knew Sir Mix-a-Lot, had such a long spanning.
That song was so good it went back in time. That's what happened.
So, and then Brad Pitt tells Logan Lerman's character, hey, if you don't take her to bed, I will. And I think that's what spurs Logan Lerman. He does not want this woman with Brad Pitt.
Because Brad Pitt's gonna rape her.
Right.
That's
correct.
The difference.
Correct. And so he takes her into the room and closes the door, and then we see they're just kind of talking on the bed. and then they end up probably having sex. It's the film doesn't show that, but it's implied.
Yeah, they definitely do.
Right. And then they go back out to the tank. And no,
missing a big portion here. So after they do the thing, they come back to the table because now food is ready.
Oh yeah.
And as they're about to eat, the rest of the squad comes in.
Yeah.
And they're even like on board with like trying to get. Did they call him Machine yet? No, they haven't yet because they still call him whatever the fuck is Norm. And hey, we got a lady for you, you know, come out here and do this. And then they realize they're all sitting down. And I was like, why are they pissed at them? Like, even like Shia LaBeouf, who is like Jon Bernthal is the worst kind of person.
Yeah,
he full on is like wanting to rape the women and all that stuff. Michael Pena is just kind of like a passive, like he's not going to stop it from happening, but he's also not going to do it. So it's like these different, you know, levels of whatever, you know, and there you can tell that Brad Pitt's pretty much lets them do whatever they want usually, but he stops them all, and that kind of makes him a little angry. But I think what they're really mad about is sharing the eggs. Yeah. Like, you're giving our eggs to these two women.
Yeah.
And so Michael Pena and Jon Bernthal don't get an egg. And that's when they start to tell the story about, you know, one of their battles together and why they need the egg. And it kind of took me a minute to figure out what was happening here. But I can understand why Bernthal was pissed just because he doesn't like being told no. And Pena is the same way. But Shia LaBeouf does tend to be sort of a moral compass character because his nickname Bible. He's a Christian. He quotes the Bible all the time. And he gets really mad. And I'm like, okay, so there's something else going on here. Like, he wouldn't get mad for stopping these guys from raping these women because he doesn't strike me as a rapist. Like, he doesn't really have any interest in even having consensual sex with the women. So it was, I think the eggs is like, you're giving away this nutrition, you know, that should go to us, to two people who aren't in the battle. Right.
Right.
And it's a really good scene, and it does create that space and that tension. And then they leave and the building blows up and the girl dies.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
And I think it's effective because Logan Lerman's character gets this kind of reprieve from everything that's been going on up to this point. Like, I mean, he's just been fish out of water, thrown into this tank squad.
He even gets laid, right? Like, things are going pretty good.
Right. And then a bomb drops on the house, and the girl's
He tried to get her digits too. Give me your phone number, girl. Where's your cell phone? And she didn't have one.
Hey, tell me which operator I got to call to get to you.
Yeah.
And then he starts to try to dig her out of the rubble, and I don't know who it was.
Bernthal.
It was a Bernthal, yeah.
Because he comes, he's like, I got it, you know, and he's not the guy to fuck with, honestly. Right. And, you know, he starts, for once, I think Norman starts fighting back, like pushing them around, and it's like, fuck yeah, you know. And I think that's kind of where he starts to find, for lack of a better term, his sea legs a bit with the group.
Well, and I think it's that in that moment that he recognizes that he cannot not engage in this war.
Well, and now the Nazis have killed his girlfriend.
Right.
And so now he's like, fucking Nazis. And he had just killed he had gotten his first kills. Kind of, right? Like, because the guys were on fire from napalm or whatever.
Yeah. And he killed them.
Michael Pena was like, you should have let him burn, but he shoots him down. So you could almost consider that sort of a mercy kill. Yeah. And I don't know that it's the same thing as murder necessarily. Or it's still a kill, I guess, is at the end of the day. But
I don't think there is such a thing as murder in war.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
But I think at this point he's recognizing that he cannot stay out of this. Like, he's told Brad Pitt and everybody else, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do these things. And then now he's seen it firsthand that this war doesn't spare anybody. It's it doesn't matter who you are, you could be killed. And so then at that point, like you said, he's kind of on board with the rest of the crew in regards to having to do what it takes to survive. But it's in this moment where he's upset that he goes off and sits in the bushes alone or whatever he's doing. And then he sees like a whole battalion of German soldiers coming towards.
Yeah, they've had, I think, another battle before this because they're riding out with like 4 tanks.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's that battle where the other 3 tanks die. But in that battle, you really see Norman kind of click.
Yeah.
With, okay, time to shoot some Nazis.
Right.
Like he becomes part of the team at that point.
Yeah. And I really love Shia LaBeouf and like inside the tank where he goes and he puts his eye to the periscope or whatever it is that he's looking through, and I think the word is that he's saying is away.
Yeah.
And but like he puts his eye, and if you're watching on the YouTube, you see me put my eye to the microphone here, but but the movie is so good inside the tank.
Yes, I agree completely.
And like just the different camera shots of what these dudes are doing inside the tank. And it really makes the tank look enormous, right? But we know it's not. We know these dudes are pretty cramped in there.
They're packed in there. Yeah. They're smelling each other's farts and shit.
Right. Yeah. But it's in the moment where old Percy Jackson is sitting in the bushes, see these guys coming, he runs back and he's like, hey, and I think it's after, so in that battle they run over a mine or some shit, and it blows
we're just down the road. They just happen upon a mine and it blows the tank tread off.
Right. And so they're stuck. They don't have any way to continue on in this tank. And Percy Jackson comes and he sees the battalion coming. He goes back and tells Brad Pitt, and they're like, everybody around Brad Pitt's like, hey, let's just grab our shit, let's run. We can
smart people,
right? We can get away. And Brad Pitt was like, nah, fuck this. I'm gonna ride out here with my tank.
So this is where I fucking fall off.
Okay,
completely.
All right. So
this doesn't make any damn sense. Like, I get that he just wants to kill Nazis. All right, fine. Whatever. But if you stay alive, you can kill more Nazis. Like,
there is that chance. Yep.
Yeah. Like, and the other thing is there's a point in the movie where he tells Logan Lerman, he's like, hey, man, my job is to keep you guys alive, right? To get you through this war. And yet here he is at the end of the movie putting them all in unreasonable danger in a situation that they will not get out of.
Yeah.
He's ready to Lieutenant Dan die right here, right? Like Lieutenant Dan's like, hey, bring me back, Forrest. Bring me back. I'm supposed to die in there. That's what he's going to do, which I don't think is unbelievable for the character, but it's really fucking stupid.
Yeah. I think
you should leave. Go hide in the woods, let them pass, and then call your people, get a new tank, name it Fury 2, and go out and fuck some shit up. But you don't get to do that because you fucking idiot.
Well, I think a lot of his rationale in this moment is that he's kind of operating on borrowed time, essentially. He's spent so much of his life in war, that I imagine he's thinking, well, if it's not this battle, it's going to be the next one. And I really think he's he's tired. Like he doesn't want to do it anymore. And so like he tells them that, and he's like, "Hey, I'll buy you some time. You know, I'll engage them, and y'all get away." And then Michael Pena is like, "Oh, fuck you, I'll stay."
Was he the first one? No, I think Logan Lerman was the first one.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he's the first one, and then
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I think Pena was the last one. He's like, "Fuck, I'm not going to be the one guy who doesn't leave."
Yeah.
Leaves. You know.
I mean, regardless, they all decide that they're going to stay and fight, and they've got a.
They should have conked Brad Pitt unconscious and taken his ass into the woods. You know, like.
I mean, I get where you're coming from. It's because it does not seem like a good decision.
It is a bad decision. It's not seems. It's a bad decision.
I mean, yes. Hindsight being what it is, bad decision.
It was a bad decision in the moment.
Yeah. No, I mean,
like
it seems
all three of everyone in your group says, "Fuck this, let's get the hell out of here," and you've got a bug up your ass, and now we're fighting. No, when everyone around you is like, "This is a bad idea," and you're like, "No, great idea, let's stay." You're the idiot.
Yeah. I don't know. He's
I'll let you. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting.
He's like the captain of the ship, right? And goes down with the ship.
But there's no reason to go down with the ship if the ship only has 5 people and it's a tank and you don't need to worry about lifeboats. You know?
I just wonder, like, I mean, in the countryside here, what are their chances of survival if they run, right? You know, I mean, their chances are very good if they have a tank and they're continuing to move in said tank. It's because, like, the movie does a really good job of showing how sturdy these tanks are in gunfights, right?
I think if that tank was able to move, they probably would have had a much better chance, right?
Yeah, because they even say that there's no tanks, like they don't have any tanks with the Germans that are coming. There's just a bunch of soldiers and trucks. And I think the film says, somebody says, "Oh, it looks like about 300 people." And so I mean, I understand like maybe the rationales, because like the whole movie they've kind of just gunned through everybody. And I just really think that Brad Pitt's decision is like, "Oh, you know what? This is my last stand." You know, old Custard, and
sure,
you know, it just.
I know history. I know what happened with that guy. I really don't.
Oh, Custer's last stand. You know, he decided against the Native Americans that he was gonna, you know, go against. I think he had like, I don't even know how many people, like 100 people or so, against maybe 500, 600 Native Americans that were encircled them. And anyways, that was his last stand, and he died. But what'd you think? So what'd you think of the final battle here? That looked like it waged for several hours.
Yeah. So once I got over the fact that this could have been all avoided, so I think this movie could have done better writing where they had no choice but to stand their ground.
Yeah.
I think it would have really eliminated my only problem with the movie. But I think once the battle gets started, it's pretty great. You know, like lots of things exploding, heads popping, lots of Shia LaBeouf yelling and blowing shit up, and yeah, it's great. I was just still reeling over the fact that this dumbass is like, "Fuck it, we'll fight," like committing suicide via war.
Yeah. I mean, so whose death affected you most?
Probably Shia LaBeouf's character.
Because he was Well, what? Yes, I agree with what you're going to say.
Yeah.
Is that he was probably the most righteous character of all of them, and his death was just out of, like, you weren't expecting it, right? He pops his
It's
head.
like war.
Yeah, he pops his head up out of the tank and gets sniped, right?
It's like, hey, what's going on?
Right. And that sucked, is because his character was my favorite. And,
Yeah.
you know, and then, you know, Brad Pitt gets shot a couple of times and he goes back into the tank and he kisses Shia LaBeouf's face. I mean, it's just like that moment inside the tank where, you know, Logan Lerman is kind of like fetal position in the corner of this tank. And everybody's inside is dead or is dying. And Brad Pitt tells him, "Hey, get out of here. I'm gonna do some shit." And then, like, my biggest critique in this film comes when Logan Lerman escapes out the bottom hatch of the tank,
Right.
and he's laying in the stuff, and, you know, Brad Pitt sets off some grenades.
No, he doesn't. They throw grenades in there.
Yeah. And which I don't know how accurate his face would have been intact, but
No, like, you get back. I expected Brad Pitt to be everywhere in that thing, like just the new wallpaper's Brad Pitt, but he barely. I felt like he lived.
right. But, like, I don't understand the rationale of David Ayers writing and directing the scene where Logan Lerman is laying under the tank and the Germans have now surrounded and they're going through, and the German soldier looks under the tank, locks eyes with Logan Lerman, sees he's alive, sees he's moving, and decides, all right, we're good. Let's keep walking. Like, I didn't understand that, and I didn't understand the rationale behind that, is because there really isn't any.
For me, what I took it as was that Lerman was looking in the eyes of a German soldier who was once like he was at the beginning of his run.
Yeah.
Not
Maybe,
wanting to really kill anybody, just kind of like, this guy's clearly not a danger to us anymore. Right. And so if I point him out, he's fucked, like beyond fucked.
Yeah.
And it's one less life I have to take, you know, because they do establish, like, a lot of German soldiers are sort of forced into this, right? Like, they go through towns and there's people hanging because they refuse to go to war for the Germans. And so it was like literally life or death. Like, you either go to war or we kill you right now. It's up to you. And so he could have been another guy who's just forced to be in the army and, you know, is new. Like, he's not really in this to shoot and kill, you know, he's just kind of fucked, you know, in a fucked situation. So he could have been, like I said, he's basically Logan Lerman at the beginning of the film, where he's not, you know, I think it's almost like a way of saying him not being war ready was still good. Like, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to like going to war,
right?
you know? I think that could be the message of the whole movie is Brad Pitt, he likes going to war. That's his shit. And you're not really supposed to be like that. And I think that by having this character, he kind of is able to reflect that being good, you know, not, you know, being innocent is a good thing. That's what we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it didn't bother me. I took it as sort of poetic.
Yeah. I just, I didn't, in the moment, I was like, I don't know if I like that. But, yeah. So I mean, that's really where the film ends.
Yeah.
But, Jeff, do you recommend Fury?
Keep in mind, I don't like war movies. So no, I'm not going to recommend this because it didn't do enough for me to transcend that, and that the whole bullshit of the final act being completely avoidable pissed me off. So,
Okay.
how about you?
Yeah.
I know.
I really enjoyed this. This is one of the better war films I've seen. And now having seen it for a second time and through a critical lens, I can definitively say that is because I've seen my share of war films, and man, really good. The ensemble here is great. The action's great. Just as a film, this is really good, and it makes me see David Ayers a little differently. Is because I feel like I've seen a good chunk of his filmography, and man, when a director makes a great film, or what I would classify as a great film, and then follows it up with a bunch of shit, you're like, who's the real David Ayers here, right? Like he directed a Suicide Squad film, and I imagine there was a heavy-handed Warner Brothers presence in that. And that film wasn't very good.
Oh, that definitely had one.
Yes.
Yeah, they sent for reshoots and
yeah. And so like you just like it makes me see when I watch a film that's really good and the same person directed and wrote it, and it makes me go, okay, maybe I cut them some slack and I don't just automatically quantify them as terrible. But yeah, no,
everybody makes a shit movie.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and
like except for Tarantino so far. Like I can't honestly say any of his movies are shit.
I thought you were gonna say Michael Bay.
No, fuck.
But yes. Anyways, I do recommend this one. If you've never seen it, please go watch it. It's we watch it on Netflix, and Netflix says, "Oh, it's leaving Netflix soon," so who knows where it'll go.
Yeah,
but maybe you can find it somewhere else. Jeff, what are we watching next week?
Well, buddy, who was your favorite actor in this movie?
It's Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf. So we're going to stay on the Shia LaBeouf train. But there's a movie I've been meaning to watch of his for a long time.
Okay.
And since it came out in 2007, mostly because it's inspired by Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window.
Oh, okay. We're talking. Okay, I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, we're going to watch
Surf's
2007. Up. Huh? What, Surf's Up? How'd you guess? Fuck off. We're going to watch Disturbia from 2007, PG-13, hour 45 minutes. It's a thriller, psychological thriller. Never seen it. It's kind of always been on my radar as being something I probably should watch, but never got around to.
Yeah, I've seen it. I don't remember it for beat by beat because I think I've only seen it once. And that was back when it came around the time it came out, and so we're talking 20 years ago. But David Moore's Carrie Ann Moss. Viola Davis.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That probably saved it there. But
well, I'm sure you could find some of these people playing bit parts in really great movies, like Green Mile, like right away. The Rock. You could do The Rock.
Oh shit! You've never seen The Rock? No, you have seen The Rock.
I have seen The Rock.
You have seen The Rock.
Who hasn't seen The Rock?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's plenty to work with. It's not like it's all A-listers, but this is the movie I wanted to watch, so that's what I picked.
Yeah. Cool. I'm excited. Catch us next week when we watch that one. But what you can do is before we end this thing is hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. And if you want to follow the podcast on all your favorite social media platforms, you can find us at Movie Draft House. We're on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, right here on YouTube. So give us a like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss any future content right here on the podcast. And Jeff, tell them where they can find you.
Sure. You can check out my other podcast called Chronologically, where we're running through the films of Quentin Tarantino. Also, check out All Things Being Sequel. We're going through the Leprechaun films. We're getting near the end of the road there with that, so we'll start talking about what the second season's going to be. It is interesting, I'll tell you that. And that's about it.
Cool. Well, catch us next week. Like I said, we're watching Disturbia. It looks like it's on Pluto TV, but
Ew.
I know where I'll be watching it.
Pluto. Pluto TV. That's where we will be watching it. Ad-supported television.
Full of ads. Anyways, Jeff, any final words?
Away!